So hello to everyone. Last month we studied and contemplated about Abraham Avinu, the first patriarch of our people. He's also called the father of all peoples. He brings faith in one God to the whole world. He's actually bringing Mashiach to the whole world. After many, many years of anguish, actually, he and his wife finally, he was 100 years old and his wife was 90 years old. Abraham and Sarah, they had their only child, their son Yitzchak Avinu. The difference spiritually between the two first of the patriarchs, Abraham and Yitzchak, is that Abraham represents descending light or straight light or revelation from above, whereas Yitzchak, his son, represents the returning light, or I'll call it the spiritual reaction to the straight light of his father, which ascends upwards. Meaning that the soul is aroused not because all of a sudden there's a revelation, but because there's some spiritual arousement that I don't know exactly where it's coming from, but as it were spontaneously, something happens to me in my heart, and I search to ascend to God. As we'll explain, that's why Yitzchak was involved. His occupation actually throughout his life was to dig wells, that the water from the abyss ascends from below up, which is the heart being aroused from below up. So once more, his father Abraham is the direct light, is called, or Yashar, straight light, descending light, and Yitzchak is ascending light. And obviously they complement one another, the father and the son. In correspondence to the months of the year and the spiritual service of the months of the year, so actually these are the two first months. The first month of Nisan is revelation of light from above, that without being actually worthy, having done sufficient good to merit the redemption, God redeems us on his own. Whereas this month is a month of working, of correcting our attributes, the emotive attributes of our heart. It's the service of Sfirat Omer, of counting the Omer, that every day is a specific emotive attribute. There are 7, but each of the 7 is all-inclusive of all of the 7, so it's 7 times 7, 49. And the whole service is the service of the hearts becoming rectified. And that corresponds in general to the principle of Yitzchak, of Isaac. Especially if we understand that according to Kabbalah, the heart is rectified through meditation. And that's why the sense, every month has a spiritual sense in Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation. And the sense, the chush of this month of Iyar, which is the month that is from beginning to end, the month of counting the Omer, is the chush actually of thought or contemplation, deep thought. It's called iyun. And through contemplation and thought, that is also, it's not a revelation of above, it's also my digging into myself, contemplating to reach my heart, to reveal the depths of the unconscious of my heart. So actually the tool of this month is contemplation. And the difference between Abraham and Isaac in the mind is that Abraham is the right side of the mind, which is also revelation, or like a lightning flash of insight, of new insight. That's Abraham. But Isaac, Yitzchak, is contemplation, meditation, thought. And through thought and contemplation, one rectifies day after day one reveals the good attributes and thereby rectifies the attributes of the heart. All right, so that's just a simple introduction. Why today we're going to devote ourselves to the figure and the person, the soul of Yitzchak Avinu, the second of the patriarchs. Just like last month we did it for Abraham, the first of the patriarchs. So as always, we'll go through the different levels of the soul, which correspond to the supernal channels and lights through which God creates the world, beginning from Keter, the crown, all the way down to Malchut, the kingdom. And see how they reflect, each one of them is reflected in the personality and the soul and the events that happen to Yitzchak Avinu as recorded in the Torah. Obviously together with the help of the classic sources of Chazal, of the sages, and especially of Kabbalah. The crown, the suprarational level of the soul, in the Jewish soul is the source of self-sacrifice. In Hebrew, the term is Mesirut Nefesh. One is ready to give up one's life, literally, for God. So it's very clear what that corresponds to in the life of Yitzchak Avinu, because he literally is ready to be sacrificed, to sacrifice himself, and that his own father, his very own father, is now going to sacrifice him, and he accepts it. He presents it that were his neck even to be slaughtered, to be a sacrifice, an offering, a whole offering for God. Immediately we read in the Torah that God really didn't want that to happen, but it was the final, the greatest trial, both of the Father and the Son. The event is called Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac. So even though the one that was tried, it's considered to be the 10th of the 10 trials of Abraham, but it's called after Yitzchak, because in a certain way Yitzchak actually has more self-sacrifice even than his father, because he is going to be slaughtered. His father received directly the command from God, but he heard it from God, whereas the son, Isaac, has to just believe in the prophecy of his father to the extent that he's willing to die, because his father said that God wants me to sacrifice you. There are two expressions that we say on the high holidays in reference to God. We either refer to God as Av HaRachaman, the Father of Mercy, or in the higher prayers, like Musaf and Ni'ilah, the highest of all of the prayers of Yom Kippur. We don't say Av HaRachaman, the Merciful Father, we say Av HaRachamim, the Father of Mercy. What is the difference between Merciful Father, Av HaRachaman, and Father of Mercy, Av HaRachamim? So in Kabbalah and the Chassidut it says that Av HaRachaman is the level of Abba. Abba is wisdom, Father. Simply the Father, he receives mercy. The origin of mercy is from the crown, above wisdom. But the mercy flows from the crown to wisdom, and it's expressed, it becomes manifest through the Father. It's like the nature of a father to be merciful on his son. So if I call God the Merciful Father, Av HaRachaman, it means that God is like a father. He's infinitely more than a physical father. Nonetheless, there's a a semblance that he, through the Father, flows mercy from an even higher source. But if I say the Father of mercy, Av HaRachamim, so that means that he is not that the mercy is coming into him and flowing through him as the Father, but he is the Father of mercy. To be the Father of mercy, the source of mercy, is above mercy. Meaning that the Father of mercy is a level of Father above the mercy of the crown itself. It's the source that gives birth to that mercy, to that passion. And that's why in the higher prayers, like we said in Ne'ilah, we refer to God as Av HaRachamim. Why did we say this now? Because Abraham is Av HaRachamim. But to believe, to be connected to his father in the Akedah Yitzchak, to the extent that my father now says to me or hints to me, it's not, he didn't say explicit, just hints to me that God wants me, I was told by God, he wants me to sacrifice you. And that's enough for him to, once more, to give his neck to be slaughtered on the altar that his father builds to die for God, to be an offering, a complete offering for God. That's a manifestation in Isaac of Av HaRachamim, that he raised to his father as the source of mercy, not just as a merciful father. As we'll see in the continuation, Isaac is the first example in the Torah of a child who initially is closer to his mother than to his father. In English they call it a mommy's boy. He's the first such example in the Torah. And that's the way it was until the Akedah. For him, the trial of the Akedah was to, as we now just explained, to so identify with his father, to manifest in his father a level which is actually higher than father, father of father, Av HaRachamim. Not only is Isaac considered to be a mommy as a boy from birth, but it says that he actually he possessed a feminine soul. He was a girl in a male body. So long as he was a girl in a male body, he wasn't able to marry and to bear children. So at a certain point, in order to marry and bear children, there had to be some spiritual transformation, some metamorphosis. And that metamorphosis took place at the Akedah, the moment of the Akedah. That his feminine, or his guru soul, elevated, and he received a new male soul. We'll explain this more in the continuation of Merciful. In any event, this comes to strengthen what we were taught in Kabbalah and Chassidut, that the secret of the Akedah, the binding of Yitzchak, is that each one of the two who participated in this tremendous trial, each one manifested in himself the root of the other. Abraham is love and Isaac is fear. And in order to be willing, the Chatchila, but initially to give up his life for God, he had to manifest absolute love. Whereas Abraham, when God says at the end, I didn't mean for you to really kill your son, to sacrifice your son. It was just a trial. I meant for you to take him up to the mountain, to make an altar, but then to bring him down. It says that now I know that you are God-fearing. Meaning that Abraham, his trial was to assume the attribute of his son, whereas the trial for Isaac was to assume the attribute of his father. In order for each one to assume the opposite attribute, which is called inter-inclusion, which also has to do with the secret of Sfirat Omer, because Sfirat Omer is to inter-include the attributes of the heart through the power of mind and what's above mind. That's why the first day of Sfirat Omer we rectify love within love, or the loving kindness of loving him. But the second day is already Gvura, might, which is fear within love. Then the beginning of the next week is love within fear. So actually the whole of Sfirat Omer is similar to Akedat Yitzchak, the power, the ultimate source of the power to inter-include. It's called Achlifu Duchtayu is the term in Kabbalah, which means to change place. But if initially in a certain spiritual place, and you're able to turn over to the very opposite place, that power comes from the crown. Comes from the super-rational. Right, so this is the first of the levels of the soul of Yitzchak, that which was revealed in the binding of Yitzchak, which simply in one term is total self-sacrifice. The mala mitam v'dat, above reason. Once more, for Yitzchak, it's without being explicitly told by God. And it apparently is the very opposite of what God would normally desire. Right now we turn to the wisdom of Yitzchak, which is the first of the conscious powers of the soul. We're coming out of Pesach. On Pesach we speak of 4 sons of the Haggadah, Leila Seder. We talk about 4 sons. Actually, the very concept of 4 sons has to do with Yitzchak, because the word son is 52, its numerical value, and 4 times 52 is 208, which is exactly the value of Yitzchak. Also, Yitzchak has 4 letters, meaning that the average value of each letter is Ben, his son. So in a certain way, he is the ultimate son, that he's all-inclusive of all of the 4 sons. Because Yitzchak is Ben, 4 sons. But of the 4 sons, there's a famous Torah of Rabbi Nachman, who his special day in Sfirat Omer, Rabbi Nachman of Breslev, his special day was actually yesterday on Shabbos, Netzach Shebenetzach, which became out as Nachman Shebenachman. And he says in one of his Torot that the father of the Seder is Abraham. And the 4 sons are actually his 4, not only his sons, but his 2 sons and his 2 grandsons. Those are the 4 sons of the Seder. A very beautiful explanation. And he says that the Ben Chacham, the wise son, is Yitzchak. The Ben Rasha is Esau, his grandson. And the Ben Tam, the simpleton son, is Yaakov, because explicitly the Torah says Yaakov ish tam, that Yaakov is tam. So that connotation, that adjective is explicit in reference to Yaakov, Jacob. And finally, and this may be the most surprising of all, the son that doesn't know how to ask is Yishmael. So this is a very beautiful Torah of Rabbi Nachman that he explains in detail. We just now said in short. So even though Yitzchak is 4 times son, in a certain way has all sons, but he is especially he's the Ben Chacham. That concept, Ben Chacham, where does it appear in the Tanakh, in the Bible? It appears actually 3 times, the expression Ben Chacham. The other idioms, Ben Rasha, Ben Tam, Ben Sheino Yodeh Lisho, those are not phrases from the Bible. But the phrase Ben Chacham, the wise son, is a phrase from the Bible, which actually is a phrase that appears 3 times, all of them in the book of Proverbs. 2 times are the same. And it says, Ben Chacham Yisamach Av. A wise son makes his father happy. The word Yisamach is actually a permutation of the letters Mashiach, the Messiah. So once more, twice it says in Proverbs, Ben Chacham Yisamach Av, the wise son makes his father happy. Once it says, instead of Yisamach Av, that he makes his father happy, it says, Ben Chacham Musar Av. Musar is chastisement, that he receives chastised by his father, and he receives it willfully. He takes, he learns. There's another verse at the very beginning of Proverbs that says, Shma b'ni musar avicha. Listen to the musar. Musar much more is the spiritual, the ethical chastisement of the father teaching his son. So who is a wise son? The one that takes that well. So once more, the verse reads, Ben Chacham Musar Av. And twice it says, Ben Chacham Yisamach Av. So all of these expressions, Ben Chacham, refer explicitly to Yitzchak. The 4 sons also correspond to the 4 letters of Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. The all-inclusive letter is the Yud, which is the Ben Chacham, the wise son. So that's why the wise son actually is all-inclusive of them all. Of all of the other sons, who is the one that the Ben Chacham, he makes his father happy? If he's Isaac, his father is Abraham. So Isaac makes Abraham happy, but who does he love especially? He loves his son, but which one of his sons? He has 2. He has Jacob and Esau. It says that the mother, Rivkah, loved Jacob, but the father, Isaac, he loved Esau. But Esau is the Ben Rasha, he's the wicked son, the evil son. The question to ask, why in the order of the 4 sons in the Seder, it says first Ben Chacham, then the second one is Ben Rasha. According to their levels, their spiritual levels, the Ben Rasha is the lowest of all. He's lower even than the son that doesn't know how to ask. So spiritually, the Ben Rasha should come at the end, not second. But for some reason, the Haggadah says first Ben Chacham, then the second one is Ben Rasha, is the evil, the wicked son, and then the simple son, and then the one that doesn't know how to ask. So one very famous Hasidic explanation is that we sit. It's very important how you sit the guests or the children at the Seder table. That we sit the wicked son next to the wise son, because then the wise son can have good influence on the wicked son. He can actually be machzir. He can bring him back to repent and to become a Baal Tshuva, returnee to Hashem. That's a famous thing. But now, according to this Torah that we just now said from Rabbi Nachman, it even makes better sense, because Yitzchak, he makes his father happy, but he loves, once more, the wise son loves the wicked son. That's even a better reason to sit them one next to the other. Because if you really love someone, you will, not just that you have the wisdom to teach him and when you come to try to influence someone to do tshuva, to return to God. It's not just enough that you're wise. You have to really love him. He's his choice, and the wicked son is his choice son. That's why it makes the best sense to sit Esau next to Yitzchak. And then there's a good chance that if last year he wasn't successful, this year he will be successful to make Esau a Baal Tshuva, to return. In any event, Isaac has wisdom. In Kabbalah, the ultimate origin of Isaac is called the Gvura, the might of the inner dimension of the crown, which is, and I'm saying terminology from Kabbalah, which is the soul of the supernal wisdom of the outer dimension of the crown, which is called the concealed mind. What does that mean? If a person has flashes of insight, where are they coming from? They're coming from some dark means unconscious level of the soul, which is called the concealed mind of the superconscious. That's who is shooting the lightning flashes of insight. That in Kabbalah is the ultimate source of Isaac. It's called Chokhmas Tima, the inner soul of which is the might. Isaac is might. Abraham is chesed. And the inner soul of that concealed mind is the might, the very highest level of might, which is the might within the pleasure principle of the soul. The outer dimension of the crown is called the will principle of the soul. Volition. But the inner dimension of the crown is pleasure. Also supernal or unconscious pleasure. The pleasure of life. But that pleasure itself also has in it all of the 10 levels of the soul. And the might of that pleasure is the soul of the wisdom of the will to once more to shoot flashes of insight. A lot to think about. It's a month of thinking, of contemplation. In any event, that's in the terminology of Kabbalah, that's the real source of Yitzchak. That's why he's a very wise person, Yitzchak, because he actually reflects the concealed wisdom of the crown of the soul. What does Yitzchak's name mean? It means laughter, because both his father, when he was told that he's going to have a son, laughed, and the mother also laughed. Both parents laughed. So most appropriate is to call him laughter. Yitzchak, that's his name. A very special name, Isaac. And in English, would you call somebody laugh? Your next boy to be born, call him, that was a laugh. He's a laugh. But that's his name, that's Isaac's name. He's a big laugh. Where does that place him in Kabbalah? To be a laugh. That places you actually in the mother principle. This is the next Shira in Binah. Because Ema Banim Smecha, Abraham laughed, and then Sarah also laughed. Who laughed more? Sarah laughed more. It's once more to become a mother, especially a mother at the age of 90. It's such a joy that the mind cannot fathom, that the expression of which is simply a great, infinite laugh. So the fact that Isaac is a laugh is his mother, source. And that's his very name. There's something about that's his essence more than anything else. Now, not only is he a laugh for his parents, for both parents, each parent laughed. And when they called him Isaac, so his mother said, "Tzchok asa li Elokim." God has made for me laughter. That's the verse. So since God has made me laugh, I'm going to call him Laugh. Most amazingly, when he married, that his whole marriage was a miracle, as we said before, because he was born feminine. Then he had to metamorphosize, as it were, and become masculine. When he married the marital relation with his wife, it says, the verb that is used to describe his union with his wife is laughter. Yitzchak mitzachek et Sarah et Rivka ishto, that Isaac laughed, so to speak, together with his wife. There are only two verbs that are used for marital union explicitly in the Torah for different couples, for two different couples. The first couple is the very first couple of creation, which is Adam and Eve. And there, the verb that is used for the union is knowledge. V'adam yada et chava ishto. That Adam knew Eve. There's only one other time in the whole Bible that a union, a marital union, is described as knowledge. It's not in the 5 books, not in the Pentateuch, not in the 5 books of Moses, but later on, in the beginning of the book of Shmuel, when Elkanah and Hannah, the parents of Shmuel, their union is also described as Yada, that he knew his wife Hannah. These are the only 2 places that we find. But the only other verb that is used, or like an idiom, is this term in reference to Isaac and Rivka, which is mitzachek, which is once more the same word as his name, Yitzchak mitzachek, et Rivka ishto. That special means that there was something very, very special about their union. Now we're going to go back also, so it means that something about laughter which also has to do with da'at. Once more, the marital union is certainly a level of da'at, of knowledge, because knowledge means union. And I wouldn't think that laughter means union. But knowledge, I know that knowledge means union, because in the Sfirot, the inner experience of knowledge is union, is yichud, is the term. So it's no surprise for me that the marital union is described as knowing. But it is a big surprise that marital union is termed as laughing. And that's a surprise as relates to Yitzchak and Rivka. Their union is very special for several reasons. First of all, it says that they have all of the patriarchs and matriarchs, they are of equal stature, just as will be when the Mashiach comes. That the male and the man and the woman are equal. The other is the famous gematria, that when you unite the 2 names of Isaac and Rivka and his wife, so the gematria is 515, which is tefillah, prayer. That's why if you look at a machzor, before we mentioned the prayers of the high holidays, so you'll see that in a certain place of the prayers, they're emphasized the 4 letters Yitzchak and the 4 letters of Rivka, because their union is the essence of the service of prayer. The world stands on 3 pillars. The pillar of Torah corresponds to Yaakov. The pillar of loving kindness, of giving charity, helping others, corresponds to Abraham. But the pillar of prayer, which is service, avodah, that corresponds to Yitzchak. And again, once more, the gematria is that Yitzchak together with Rivka equals prayer. The word prayer also means, one of the meanings of prayer is union. It's union with God. So once more, the union with God is reflected in the union of Isaac and Yitzchak. Now, this is we're now talking about the unique level of dat, of knowledge that Yitzchak possesses, as reflected in the unique term that is used as actually his own name in reference to the union with his wife. Dat and Binah also are interrelated. Im en dat and Binah. If there's no knowledge, there's no understanding. If there's no understanding, there's no knowledge. Once more, the very fact that his name means laughter, that we place that at the level of Binah. The fact that his union, which is his knowledge with his wife, is also called laughter, that's in dat. Now there's something also very special about Yitzchak, which is not the case with regard to Abraham and not the case with regard to Jacob, is that he, not only was the husband and wife equal, were they equal, but he was the only of the fathers that had just one wife. No other wife, no concubine, no other woman. As we said, there was only, Isaac is the only patriarch that there's only one woman in his life. And that's not to be taken simply. That's a very, very important, essential thing about Isaac. There's something else which is one in his life. There's something about Isaac that even though his father, Abraham, is called Echad, one. One was Abraham. But Yitzchak is called single one, which actually in unity and oneness is even a little bit more than just one. Something very singular, which is one and only one in the soul of Isaac. So the immediate thing is that he, once more, as we just now said, that there's only one woman in his life. What else is there only one of in his life? The other thing, which also relates to Dat and to Malchut, is that there's only one land in his life. All the other fathers and most all other great souls of the Bible, so even though there's something very special about the chosen land, just like we're the chosen people, there's the chosen land, but they all had to either for a short period or for a long period of lives be in Chutz La'aretz, outside the land of Israel. There's something special about Isaac that the sages say because he was a complete, a pure sacrifice to God. Olat mimah is the term in Hebrew. God says that Chutz La'aretz outside of Israel is not for you. It's not worthy for you. Gur ba'aretz, live only in this land. For you, there's just one place to be. One place to be and one woman to marry are interrelated. When we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Hear, O Israel, God is our God, God is one, so we use the word one. But it says in Chassidut that there's even a higher level, which is Yachid, one and only one, the single one. And that level of one and only one, or single one, Yachid, is the level actually of faith of Yitzchak. The first one to preach and to teach the world monotheism is Abraham. But the one to make it clear that there's one and only one God is Isaac. So once more, there's one and only one wife, and Isaac, there's one and only one land, and Isaac there is one and only one God. Now this is actually going back to Chokhmah, because we're taught in Tanya, the author of the Tanya, Rav Shneur Zalman of Ladi, says in the name of his master, who is the Maggid of Mezrich, that the ultimate one, which is called the only one, Yachid, that appears, or that becomes revealed and manifest only in the Sphira of Chokhmah, of wisdom. As we said before, that's part of Isaac being the wise son, the Ben Chacham, Yisamach. So now we can understand it even better, why the wise son makes his father Abraham happy. Because Abraham says, I only was able to teach the world Echad, but you're, in a certain sense, even wiser than me, and that makes me happy that you're teaching the world, or bring to the world, one and only one. Yachid. All right, so now, after going through in short the four first levels of the soul, which is the crown and the three faculties of the mind, now we'll turn to the attributes of the heart. The first is love. So as we said before, Isaac, his innate level is fear, is the opposite, is the left. Love is to the right of the heart. Fear is to the left of the heart. At the time of the binding, he assumed love, so we say that that's his love, but we want something even more than that. Because we actually, that ability from fear to assume love and to manifest love, we place that in the crown. It's part of his self-sacrifice. But does he have also innate love? Is he a loving guy? Just naturally? Do we find Yitzchak just loving things? So very amazingly, what he has to do with fear. But we find more variety, a greater spectrum of loving in him than anybody else. Because there are three different things that he loves, that it says in the Torah. He's the first one to love his wife. When he married Rivka, it says way out there that he loved her. Simple. Obviously, Abraham loves Sarah, but it doesn't say. I guess it doesn't have to say. It doesn't say that Abraham loved Sarah. But everything goes after the first appearance in the Torah. The first time that it says that somebody loved his wife is Isaac. Afterwards, we find Jacob also very much loving his wife Rachel. But that's only because his father taught him by example that you're supposed to love your wife spontaneously. So loving your wife, that comes from Yitzchak. What else does he love? He loves his son. We said before, not only just does he love his son, he loves his bad son. To love your good son is not a chidush, not innovation. But to love your bad son, that's real love. That you're full of love. He knows he's his bad son. He doesn't think he's the good son. What else does he love? He loves good food. Matamim. Aseli matamim kasher have the delicacies. Why does he love good food? We're going to explain in the next level, which is gvura, fear, that Yitzchak is in the elements. He's the element of fire. His father Abraham is the element of water, and his son Jacob is the element of air. But Isaac is fire. What does fire do? Fire consumes. The word to consume in Hebrew is to eat. So since he's fire, he loves consuming. But only good food, only matamim. So once more, this is really once more, everything about Isaac is a surprise. It's a surprise because you're supposed to laugh when you think about Isaac. He's the most loving, natural loving person that we find in the whole Bible. We don't find anybody else that loves three different things. He loves his wife, and he loves his bad son, and he loves good food. So he's a real lover. Right. Then once more, when we turn to Gvura, to the next attribute, that's clear that how does he serve God? The three things that he loves that we just said are not to God. How does he relate to God? Naturally. At the moment of the binding, it was with absolute and infinite love. But in general, throughout his life, he related to God with fear. That's why we know that Isaac, that's why we associate Isaac with fear. That God is referred to for Isaac, Pachad Yitzchak. And Pachad is even more than Yirah. But he serves God with fear and trembling. When he thinks that he made a mistake by blessing Jacob instead of Esau, also Vayechra, he begins to tremble. And there's something about Isaac that he has an affinity. He's close to tremble. The Baal Shem Tov, who is known for his love, but it says that his fear of God was so great that even a glass of water at the other end of the room would tremble, the water in the glass, from his trembling, from his rod. So that trembling and fear, that pachad Elokim, that's the simple manifestation of fear in the soul of Isaac. Gvura is also called Midat Hadin, it's judgment. Isaac represents severe judgment, which is the spiritual service of the first day of Rosh Hashanah. We said that this month of Iyar is a month of Isaac. That's why we're devoting this class to Isaac, to Yitzchak Avinu. But it's this special holiday of the year, which corresponds to Isaac, and the shofar that we blow is called the shofar from the ayil, from the ram that was sacrificed in place of Isaac. The first day of Rosh Hashanah, in the Torah there's only one day of Rosh Hashanah. The first day is called Dina Kasha, which is Gvura, the level of Isaac. Of the three holidays of the year, so actually Isaac corresponds to Shavuot, the one that's coming up, which is the culmination of Sfirat Omer. We said that all Sfirat Omer is Isaac. But the culmination, Shavuot, is also the holiday of Isaac. Actually has two holidays, Shavuot and Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is Yom Hadin. It's called Din Akasha, which is Gvura. The phrase, once more in Hebrew, for his level is called severe judgment, Dina Kasha, which equals Bet Din, when there's a court, a Jewish court of judges. In the Torah, judges in a Jewish court are called Elokim, just like God, the same word. But that word Elokim for God is called Midat Hadin, which is the level of Yitzchak. That's when he was born. His laughter is also called Tzchok Asali Elokim, that Elokim gave me the laughter of this son, that I'm calling now laughter, laugh. We all remember that there were three angels that came to give the tiding to Abraham and Sarah that Yitzchak will be born the next year. After they gave the tiding of Yitzchak's birth, the Torah says that they got up and they went to Sodom to destroy, as messengers of God, to overthrow and to destroy the city of Sodom, which was the most wicked of civilization. The Arizal says that because they now gave the tidings to Abraham and Sarah of the birth of Yitzchak, that's why the next move was to go and destroy Sodom, because Yitzchak is judgment. And just giving the tiding of his birth is enough to motivate these very same angels to go once more sent by God to destroy the city of Sodom. Right? These are all examples of the Gvura of Yitzchak. What about the mercy of Yitzchak himself? That his father is Abba Rachamim, we said, the father of mercy. But what about his own mercy? But he wanted to bless the bad son that he loved, Esau. But at the end, because of the mother and Jacob, so Jacob got, as planned by God, obviously, Jacob got the blessing. When he understood that he blessed the wrong child, so he thought, he began to tremble when Esau entered. But then immediately he acknowledged and he said, Gam Baruch Yeh, that Jacob was blessed by divine providence through me, unknowingly, thinking that it's the other son. And God, he will be blessed. Then Esau starts to cry. He says, my father, my dear father, you only have one blessing. Bless me also. At that moment, the mercy, when someone cries to you, what attribute of the soul does that arouse? It says that arouses the attribute of mercy. So it says that innately, he loved Esau, but at this moment that he had to very strongly acknowledge that my blessing did go to Jacob, nonetheless he expressed he has mercy. Esau is able to arouse his mercy on him. And that's why he goes on to also give a blessing to Esau. Means that he himself has mercy. And the mercy, there's an expression that mercy redeems love. So it relates back to his love. The essence of mercy itself is Jacob himself, because he's the attribute of Tiferet and mercy. And the origin of mercy is the crown. By unknowingly and unwittingly blessing Jacob, for all of a sudden he realized, Isaac, that the one that I blessed, he is the essence of mercy, because from might comes mercy. That's the order. I thought even before, when he wanted to bless Esau, the bad son, it was also even more than just because he loved him. Also, he had mercy. He wanted to influence him to do tshuva, as we said before. The very thought of Isaac to bless the bad son was that he thought, this way it's explained in Chassidut and Kabbalah, that he thought very deeply that even though he's bad, my blessing will be so potent, so powerful, that it will give him the power to return. It will arouse him to return. So that very thought also is a level of mercy, having mercy on his soul. The very fact that he loved him is because he foresaw in his prophetic spirit, his Ruach HaKodesh, that there are sparks, very, very great sparks of holiness in this guy, in this bad guy, my bad son Esau. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Meir, and other very, very great souls that maybe we'll mention in a moment. So he had mercy on those souls. But then when he found out that that God wanted me to bless Jacob and not Esau, that Rivka understood that even the great power of the blessing would not be sufficient to make Esau do tshuva, to return, as Yitzchak hoped. So you realize that the essence of mercy belongs to Jacob. Nonetheless, he continued to have mercy on Esau. And when he cried, it touched him deeply to the depth of his heart, and he blessed him also. The next one is Netzach. Netzach is either victory or eternity. It says that the ultimate victory is the victory over the opposite of life, the victory over the angel of death. And that's the relation between victory and eternity, because eternity is eternal life. And the Father, or the soul in the Torah, who is explicitly in the Bible lives the full life, is Isaac. According to the sages, there are people that lived more than 180 years, Jewish people, from Abraham on, not the early generations of mankind, who were also not yet Jewish. But of Jewish souls in the whole Bible, nobody explicitly lives more than Isaac. But his father Abraham lived to the age of 175. It says that he should have lived 180, but in order not to see his son Esau go bad. So Hashem took 5 years, God took 5 years off his life. The grandson of Abraham, Jacob, lived 147 years. But the one who lived a full life, which is 180 years, why is 180 a complete lifespan? Because it equals 10 times chai. You know that life is chai. Just like when you give charity, you give 18 or multiples of 18. And 10 times is completion, that there's each one of the 10 levels of the soul is alive, is completely alive. 10 times chai, 180. Those are the 180 years of Yitzchak, which is relative to all other souls in the Bible. He is the eternal soul with his 180 years. The level of Hud, the next one, is also something which is complete, that since he is a complete offering to God called an Olat Mimah, as we mentioned before, for that reason, he is not allowed to leave his place. Kur ba'aretz. Stay in Israel. Don't leave Israel. Don't leave the promised land. The relation between Netzach and Hod, victory, and acknowledgement is a male-female relation, which is also a time-space relation. So relatively, time and space are also male and female in the Torah. To be complete in time is his complete lifespan of 180 years. To be complete in space, space as place, is his total identity more than any other figure in the whole Tanakh, in the whole Bible, total identity with the land of Israel. This also relates to what was said previously, that in this month of Iyar, which we're now relating to Isaac, in our modern times, has to do with the return to the land of Israel, to identify him. But what Yitzchak teaches us is that we have to identify totally that I and the land are one and only. The four letters of Yitzchak, actually it says, are four names of the land of Israel. Eretz Yisrael, Yud, the first letter is Yisrael, the land of Israel. The second letter of Yitzchak is Tzadik, which is Tzvi, the land of the deer. The third letter is Chet, which is Chaim, Eretz Chaim, the land of life. And the fourth, final letter of Yitzchak is the Kuf, which is Kodesh, Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land. So that the four letters are the four different names of the land of Israel. They just totally identified, acknowledge, once more, has to do with space, holy space identity. The next one is Yesod. Isaac is the first soul to be circumcised, as the Torah says, actually as God said to Abraham on the 8th day. Circumcision is the correction, the rectification of the Brit Kodesh, of the Holy Covenant with God, which is the foundation of the soul. And the first one to have that mitzvah, that commandment performed completely is Yitzchak. The Zohar says that the name Yitzchak actually is two words with a simple permutation of the four letters of Yitzchak. It's Ketz Chai. It's called the living end. So we might think that that term living end, Ketz Chai, has to do with the fact that he lived his 10 times Chai years. But it says that Ketz Chai, the Arizal says explicitly that the reason that he is Ketz Chai, that has to do with his total rectification of his foundation, of his Yesod. In any organism, at the end of some organic process, there can be dead material, like dead cells. Dead cells at the end are called serach ha'odef, is the term in Hebrew. It means superfluous matter, which is, if there is something superfluous, that suggests or that gives rise to what's called the yinikata chitonim, is the term in Hebrew. That external forces, bad forces, can suck, it's called, if there is external matter. If something at the end of a process, like if a person has a spiritual experience, a very simple thing, and if at the end a person receives self-gratification, which is just a little drop of arrogance or pride in himself, that's like the experience is, there's something dead at the end of the experience which becomes a source of giving energy to evil, which is actually the pegam means the blemish of foundation. Ketz Chai means that at the very end is alive just like the beginning and just like the continuum. That he's alive from, try to say it simply, experience. A person has an experience. At the end of an experience, a spiritual experience, there can be some cells that are dead, which gives rise to energy being wasted. The fact that Yitzchak is Ketz Chai, the meaning is that he's alive from beginning to end. This much more has to be contemplated very deeply. That's called that the end, and what's special is that his end is still alive. Ketz Chai. If your end is still alive, it means that you'll never die also. So it goes back to Netzach. But much more, the Rizal says that this concept of Ketz Chai, which is a permutation of Yitzchak, is his Yesod. The final thing is before we said that Yitzchak and Rebecca, Rivka together equal Tefillah. In general, Tefillah is a Malchut principle. There are two special prayers that it says in the Torah that Yitzchak prayed. He prayed for a wife. He went out to the field. The field is a Malchut. Vayetze Yitzchak b'sadeh lifnot asuach b'sadeh lifnot erev. He went out to converse with God, which is a special type of prayer. Spontaneously conversing with God in the field. What was he praying for? To get married. Which is actually to receive a male soul to be worthy of being married. Then, when he was married already for 20 years and they didn't yet have children, so once more it says, Vayetar Yitzchak Hashem lenochach ishto, that he supplicated God, he prayed with supplication to God, together, or actually one looking at the other, his wife. Together with his wife, they prayed together. So the special praying of Isaac for marriage is for everybody, that either you need to be married or you need to have children if you're already married. Those two special prayers to get married and to bear children are prayers of Yitzchak. Another thing that we'll now conclude with, that also has to do with, once more, prayer is Malchut, is kingdom. Another thing about kingdom is that all righteous converts are an expression of kingdom. So we might think that the concept of righteous converts, Gerei Tzedek, has to do with Abraham, because it says that Abraham himself was a convert. This we explained last month. Not only was he himself a convert, his wife was a convert, Sarah, but Abraham devoted himself to convert males, and Sarah devoted herself to convert females. But the sages teach us that all of the fathers were involved in conversion, each one in his way. If we said that Abraham was the first to teach monotheism to the world, but there was something special about Isaac, they taught the uniqueness or the singularity of monotheism. The Yachid, which is even more than the Echad, so the same thing has to do with the type of Giur. The word Giur, Ger, a convert, is the same as Gur, to live. The fact that he lived in this sense as Gur Ba'aretz, Be'eretz Megurei Aviv, this is a word in Hebrew, to live in his place, Gur, La Gur, is the same as Giur, conversion. Vayeshev Yitzchak B'Gerar, the very first place that he dwelled in is called Gerar. Not just to live, but that's the place itself is named Gerar. Which means that he was Gorer. Gorer means to plow in, to bring in multitude of converts, either in his lifetime as explained in the Torah or afterwards. One of the greatest novels, just say very short because the time is already up, one of the very greatest converts in the whole history of the Jewish people is Onkelos Hager, who translated the whole Torah into Aramaic. which is such a holy translation that there's a mitzvah that every week we read the portion of the week twice in the original Hebrew and once in the Aramaic of Onkelos. It says Onkelos is a reincarnation of the grandson of Isaac, Eliphaz, who grew up in the house of Isaac. It's also an example of the Rachamim. That's why he had mercy. His father Esau told him to kill Jacob. But because he grew up, he had some affinity to his grandfather Isaac, he had mercy on his uncle Jacob, and he didn't kill him as his father commanded him to kill him. Afterwards, he became one of the 3 friends of Job in the book of Job, Eliphaz. But he reincarnated as Onkelos the Ger, that's his tikkun. And the power of this Giyur and being able to translate the Torah into Aramaic, which is a holy translation, for the sake of the Torah being able to be taught to people that are not fluent in the original Hebrew, which is obviously very, very important for our times, that power to translate the Torah, right now we're trying to translate into English, the power to translate the Word of God. It says that Onkelos had an amazing ability to himself, he was a convert. He was the nephew of the emperor of Rome, who sent whole bands of soldiers to arrest him. But he converted them all, one after the other. There's a long story in the Talmud. We don't have now the time to tell. He had a tremendous charisma, himself as a convert, to teach Torah to the police that are coming to arrest you. Try to think of how that could happen today. Once more, police are now being sent to arrest you, and you convert them. One group after the other, 3 times. It means that the soul that is most pertinent to us is the soul of Onkelos. His power comes from Isaac. Once more, in general, conversion is Malchut, and translation is Malchut, Targum. So this just like Isaac is prayer. In what language people hear that if your mother tongue is much more, he's a mommy boy. That's through with mother tongue. If your mother tongue happens to be English, so how should you spontaneously lasuach basadeh, to converse with God in the field? In your mother tongue? So that's a malchut realization. Above malchut, it should be in Hebrew, but to say no, do it in your mother tongue. Speak with God spontaneously in your mother tongue. That's malchut. That's Onkelos Hager. But once more, it's also like we're now ending with a paradox. Because on the one hand, we say that Yitzchak is totally one and only one with the land of Israel and with one wife and God. At the same time, he translates it all in whatever language is good for you. Whatever language is good for the time, for the generation. So that will conclude, and now we can take questions.